Broadcasting from the J.C. Newman Carho Lounge, it's Smoking Sounds, the ultimate podcast for cigar and pipe enthusiasts. Whether you're puffing on a fine Cuban cigar or savoring the rich aroma of a vintage pipe tobacco, join us as we embark on a journey where smoke intertwines with sound. Welcome back, Smoking Sounds enthusiasts. Grab your peanuts and Cracker Jacks, settle into the stands, because on this episode, it's Bleed Black, the story of the Tulsa Rumblers. I'm Sean, one of the hosts of Smoking Sounds, and joining me is a man who needs no introduction, the Tennessee Backyard Wrestling Champion of the World. It's Justin!
Let me talk to you.
Woo!
Yeah! It's Justin on the mic.
What's going on, my friend?
Yeah, it's been too long, and everybody's saying, yeah.
Hopefully they are anyway, right?
Hey, and we are preparing this weekend. Showcase of the Immortals is coming up. So
WrestleMania 40?
that's right.
That's right.
XL.
That's right. Well,
Just like my shirt size, XL. Well, actually, it's 2XL.
So
But still, anyway. But so looking forward to that. Hey guys, it's great to be. It's been way too long. You know, you probably heard our Smoke-a-Mania episode, and you probably thought, oh, they outdid themselves. They're in the hospital, but we are not. We are live, and we're gonna have a great show. And
that's right. Hey, and joining us are the founding fathers of the Tulsa Rumblers. You guys will recognize the first gentleman's voice, Jake Horsehide Cornwell.
Hey, guys.
You guys might
Jake.
remember him from the Tobacco Pouch episode.
Yeah, he sat in with us a few episodes ago at the Pouch, and so we're happy to have him back on board.
That was a
And
good
who else
time.
we-
I'm
yeah.
really glad you guys invited me back.
That's right.
Who else we got?
and this is- I was going to call him No Shirt, but y'all wouldn't get it. But the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Josh Camp.
Hello.
That's
Hello,
right.
Mr. Josh.
And
welcome.
we're going to get into what these two gentlemen mean to Tulsa Sandlot and Sandlot baseball in a few minutes. But you know what we got to get into, Justin?
Let's hear it.
The Smoking Sound Smoking Report. What have you been smoking?
Okay, so kind of a lot of things to go over, but I'll do it really quickly. So I've really been hitting the. So I smoked the Hawaiian Breeze, the Purple Haze, and then I also smoked the Hawaiian Breeze Kona. Now I've also been getting into the Tobacco Especial from Drew Estate, as well as the Isla del Sol from Drew Estate, and
That's a lot of flavor.
yeah. And so I've really been getting into flavors. Now, you guys, you know I'm a pipe smoker, and you know that if you like these kind of flavored cigars, these really will ring your bell as a pipe smoker. So I just want to get that out there. So. Just a quick word. The Purple Haze was actually pretty good. If you've ever paired wine with a cigar, you kind of get that sort of fruity grape, and then the tobacco flavor is really good. I'll say more about that at another time. But the Kona was supposed to be more like coffee. It was okay. It smelled more like coffee than it actually tasted like it. Now, so we have the Tobacco Especial from Drew Estate, and we have the Isla del Sol from Drew Estate. Both are coffee-infused cigars. The primary difference, what I'm going to say here, is that the Tobacco Especial is if you like, say, Colombian coffee, and if you like Sumatra Mandilin coffee, you want to go to the Isla del Sol. Okay, so that's how you tell them apart. Now, if you're not that much of a coffee connoisseur, the other thing is like the Especial is more regular coffee, whereas the Isla del Sol is kind of more chocolatey kind of coffee. Definitely, they were definitely great. Sean, and now I can't forget. I'm gonna throw it over to Sean here because we both tried the Stillwell Star pipe tobacco.
The Navy 1056. That was the
right.
only one I wanted to bring up on my smoking report.
Right. So
because
so
that's the combination of Stillwell by Dunbarton and Cornell and Deal.
Yeah.
With red and gold Virginia. It's like,
right.
That's a cigar you would enjoy, Jake.
Yeah, and now, honestly, folks, now I've tried they have an aromatic, they have an English, and they have like a Bayou, sort of a vapor. You seasoned pipe smokers will know that's a Virginia Perique. I wasn't impressed with really any of them, but the Navy really was top notch. It had a great flavor, it had a great aroma, well construction.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, that's kind of what I've been. Sean, I'll throw it over to you.
Well, that Stillwater Star, the Navy 1056, was the only one I had a La Aroma de Cuba, Connecticut. You know how much I love La Aroma de Cubas.
Oh, yeah.
And, but yeah, the Stillwater Star. And the Diesel Whiskey Barrel Sherry Casket was a good one, too.
Ooh.
So I just lit up a Padron 7000, and Justin's lighting one up. Jake, you been smoking on anything you want to talk about?
Well, I'm blowing smoke all over Josh over here.
Yeah, me too. I know. Sorry, buddy.
I am smoking the black and gold maple that you turned me on to, Sean.
Oh, that is a great Cornell and Deal pipe tobacco there.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Although it's funny how with each batch, they kind of change in flavor a little bit. I actually like the batch that you got a little bit better. This is a little bitey, but it seems like the more it ages, the better it gets.
Yeah, it seemed like that first batch I had, it had no bite whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I've got that Autumn Evening over there. I want you to put some either in your pipe today or in your take some with you.
Okay.
Because it's very similar.
Yeah.
The Autumn Evening in that black gold maple.
I still need to try the tobacco I got from you, Justin, on Saturday.
Oh, the Sir Walter Raleigh?
Yeah, I haven't got to try that.
Kind of an all-American blend. It's a kind of a crimp-cut burley. No flavorings in it. Not necessarily. Not like the black gold maple. So gonna be something kind of different. And now also I'm gonna stay on Brother Sean here because I gave him a pouch of Paladin Black Cherry, a virtual legend. A lot of people hate it, but I love it. And it's another burley-based tobacco. So I'm gonna make sure he does that next time.
You got anything else you want to bring up before we close out the Smoking Sound Smoking Report?
That's it.
All right, that has been the Smoking Sounds Smoking Report. All right, so now the reason why you're here. The reason why people are here.
First of all, where's my playlist?
It's going.
Okay.
Yeah.
This song wasn't on it.
By Rhythm Station?
It was Bang and Gone.
Oh, well, let me see. Oh, hold on. All right, let me see if I can get it on right before we introduce. So we'll just switch on to the next one. So, if you want to find the playlist, it's, what is it, Smoke and Smoke on Apple Playlist?
Yeah, it's on Apple Music. It's called Smoke and Smoke. And it's kind of bluesy, but basically what I tell you about the playlist, it's for people who are grilling burgers, smoking cigars, sipping whiskey, chugging beers, and talking smack, and God willing, in that order.
Okay.
So that's what no whiners, no all that. So this is kind of how rock. So there's a little bit of rock, a little bit of country, a little bit of blues, stuff like that. So
might be a good playlist for being out at the Lacey Park, historic Lacey Park.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
So yeah, the reason why we're here is you guys. If you're listening and you know Sandlot Baseball, you obviously know who the Tulsa Rumblers are. That's we're not going to surprise anybody with that. But the reason that I wanted to have Jake and Josh on was I know people are familiar with the Tulsa Rumblers, but I wanted to have an opportunity to get the Tulsa Rumbler story out there. Like, how did this come about? Because as you'll hear me mention later, it's, not just what these two gentlemen have done for Tulsa Sandlot Baseball, but Sandlot Baseball in general, and Justin, you got to experience that firsthand on Saturday.
So when we kind of get toward the end there, I'll tell you, because I went out there for the first time, and guys, let me tell you what, I'll a little spoiler. It is basically, it's a picnic with a baseball game in the middle of it, and it's just fabulous. And I had a great time. And guys, I couldn't even see the action on the field. My vision is such, I could not even tell what was going on the field, but I'd still be like, you call that a strike? I was still, of course, now I was pre-gaming and during in gaming. Yeah. So, there was that. Thank you, Yingling Flight. But it was just great. And if it wasn't for the Showcase of the Immortals, I'd be going out to see them. But next game, I'm going to be there again. Can't see the action on the field. I'd be like, what's the score? What's the score? What inning are we in? Stuff like that. So,
and we'll get into that later about kind of what the feeling in the environment and all that stuff is like. But all right, so do y'all want to flip a quarter, or who wants to go first?
Well, hang tight. I want to offer something to Justin. Right. So you can actually umpire for us then if you can't see that well.
It's a good idea. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, can you yell?
I hit the wrong button. I always hit that button for something. It's like my finger just goes there.
So Sean, tell them what we've lit up cigar wise.
So we are smoking the Padron 7000. It is, I think this is more of a Habano wrapper. But this is I've had the Padron 1964. This is one of, I guess we would call it the lower end of the Padron line, but it's one of my favorites.
Well, I tell you, it's treating me good, and I'm really, it definitely tastes like a Habano.
And Jake, what are you smoking on over there?
That's the maple that
the
Black
turned me on to.
From Cornell and Dale. Now, I was going to say, probably the reason why it's, because probably the first stuff you could, because I know they got a shipment recently, so sometimes that stuff does have a chance to sit in the jar for, say, 3, 6, 8 months.
Sure.
And then sometimes they'll get like a new stock and that kind of stuff. So yes, there could be that kind of difference with that.
Well, it's pairing well with my Pepsi.
Excellent.
Well, what a perfect song to get started with the Tulsa Rumblers here. We've got the Motley Crue smoking in the boys' room. We're kind of doing that here in the Carhole Lounge. So, gentlemen, I'm going to open the floor up to you. Let whoever wants to start and tag team off each other, but let's let everyone know the history of the Tulsa Rumblers.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a good podcast.
Yeah.
It's hard to get us to talk about this, honestly. And I mean, we have told the story. We've told it in print media, and we've shared a little bit with our friends and fellow sandlotters. But our club is just a bunch of good timers who want to play baseball, and we've done a pretty good job of that.
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. So
what do you think about that, Josh?
Let's start from the beginning. Josh, you can chime in here if you will. So, Rumblers, what year you guys get started, and that kind of thing.
Sure. Our club started in the winter. I think it was December 2018, November, December timeframe.
Yeah.
Jake and I had been playing ball together for a little bit and really hit it off, and just kind of like-minded individuals and just love playing. So obviously playing in December, you got to really love being out there and love playing the game.
Yes, you do.
And actually, Cletus Jones here was one of our other 4, and Bo Adams. So there'd be 4 of us that would go out. Pretty simple operation, a couple of bats, whatever baseballs we could scrounge up, and just hit off a tee, or it was mostly just hanging out. But we just really enjoyed being around each other, and the Sandlot baseball vibe of community and making friends, playing ball, having a good time. So we started with that, and it just kind of spiraled from there. From one person said, my husband wants to play, can he come out? And then another friend from school invited a friend, and then we knew each other from all these different, it just kind of all came together. And then after a few weeks, we had about 20 people, and we said, we actually might have a team here. I mean, we had logo designs and all these big dreams before we had enough. We even had a half a team.
It's
that's what I kind of.
That sounds like Smoking Sounds.
And that's what I kind of wanted to ask, because I should probably know this, but so how did the Rumblers name come about? Like, I know that you guys had discussed it and all this,
sure.
But how did that with the and with the logo, with the switchblade, how did all that come about? Because it's just one of the most beautiful logos not just Sandlot baseball, but in baseball in general. To me,
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'd say we agree with that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think Jake and we were just going back and forth on just kind of what's, Sandlot, just in large, all the team logos are amazing. They're unique. They're funny. They're well designed. Most of the teams.
A lot of them tie into the region, too.
And it's a fun, it's not too serious, but it's, you try to make it look cool or, in whatever way you can. And a lot of the teams have a designer, somebody that's in art or graphic design that comes up with logos. And so we just kind of were talking, and I think we went through a couple of different ideas. Originally, we were going to do the Outsiders.
Yeah.
But there's a team in Austin that's already called the Outsiders.
That's right.
So we said, okay.
And we were a little bit worried about like copyright issues and stuff.
Right.
I mean, we never knew how big it was going to get or if it was going to
Yeah,
get
that
any
was before
bigger
the
than
house.
four
Danny
people.
Boy was going to be one of the major
Right.
sponsors with the
Yeah.
Outsider House.
Well, and I actually talked to Danny Boy about that. I said, he said, you know what? I think it's actually cooler that you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because now this is your own thing.
Right.
So we were like, what's some Tulsa, imagery or icons that we could kind of, play off of. And I think at first we came up with, Outsiders, we knew that was off the table. And then we came up with Rumble Fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had drawn a hand-drawn design.
TBD. It's still.
Yeah. We might bust that out for a little our City Connect.
There we go. There we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
That's
There we go. We just got an exclusive right here.
Right on.
We still got the files.
Rusty.
Yeah, Rusty.
Yeah.
So Rusty James, we kind of had a fish with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and
Oh man.
it's a pretty cool look. And so, but we just kept going back to like the black and white was kind of where we were wanting to go with it. So then in the Outsiders, obviously they're always talking about going to a Rumble,
Right.
So we were like, okay, Rumblers, and then the Switchblades, iconic with that whole scene, Pony Boy and all of that.
Let's do it for Johnny, man.
Yeah.
So once that happened, we were like, all right, so we got to work a Switchblade into it somehow, and we just kind of kept sketching stuff out and went from there. And
We knew what kind of font we wanted. We were able to repurpose some different shapes and parts of fonts that we really liked. And Josh was really resourceful in either what he did or how he networked with friends or something like that to get stuff straightened out that we just couldn't do in the very early phases of what we were doing. And we were just talking back and forth, probably late one night. And it came up like, well, what if we did the Switchblade as actually a part of the R?
Yeah.
And if you think about like iconic logos, like the New York Yankees, Interlocking NY,
Right.
Different logos, especially with baseball.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very much to know exactly what the personality of that team is.
Right.
Gotcha.
And who they are, so, and we've been really fortunate. A lot of people have resonated with the logo just because of the shape and how it looks cool. We're here still 6 seasons later.
Yeah.
And it's not something you tire of.
No, because even you guys know Jim Narlock. He started the Mad City Farleys up there.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool.
And it's great. It's great. It's going to be a great team. I absolutely love. I've known Jim for 100 years. He was a Rumbler before he was a Farley. But I was kind of, I know you were talking with him when he was kind of getting the team started, and he knew that Jess was a graphic designer and stuff. And so we were kind of, trying to help him a little bit, but that's what he kept going back to. And I tell you this is I hope you take it as a huge compliment, is he's like, can you guys work this in where it's like the Switchblade in the R with the Rumblers? Because that is one of the iconic Sandlot logos.
Yeah.
And he kept saying that, and he kept going back to it.
One thing that I
So-
talked about with Jim is the importance, because they're called the Mad City Farleys because Chris Farley's from there.
Right, yes.
And the iconic role of the man down by the river.
Yes.
And so that, I think their van is really what that logo is for them.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
And you worked on that as well?
Yeah, I made that. Yeah.
Okay,
it's a
so
great
logo.
Look, I made it in Canva. I'm not because let's be honest. More credit that Josh needs is because
Sure.
the man is a magician with a
Yep.
with a pencil, or I don't know what you draw with, but I have a card that Josh hand drew for me
Yeah.
that will make its way down to my son.
Sure.
That's how much, and I thank you. That means
man, that's-
Oh,
that much
that's
to me.
excellent, man.
So,
Well, we've talked about like the importance of the Rumblers, and we can't really say what will happen in 5, 10, or 20 years, but like the importance of the guys that we have on the club, like you have to pass a vibe check to be a Rumbler.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of us are dads, or, you know, we're just guys and gals. Maddie now.
Yeah.
We're fortunate to have Maddie on our team. But, like, we all kind of have our shit together. And,
Most
you know,
of the time.
yeah.
Okay, so let me stop here. Let me make sure everybody, because see, I'm new to this too. So this, if I'm in the audience, here's what I'm wondering. So, you guys say you establish. Is there an association like of some sort of that you register with? Okay, we're now the Tulsa Rumblers, or I mean, how y'all decide? Because I know sometimes people come in here from Houston and other towns to play you guys, or you'll go to there. Is there some sort of national association or something like that, like Sandlot Baseball Association?
No, that's kind of the whole overall vibe of Sandlot is it's very DIY.
Yeah.
So there's really not, there. I wouldn't say there are some that have leagues or associations, but for the most part, you're making your own stuff, traveling to places that you hook up with people that you met from one thing or another and say, hey man, it'd be cool if you came out, or it'd be awesome to have you. And you set up a weekend or whatever it is with these visiting teams, or again, if you go somewhere. But it's basically, you play teams that you think are cool and have fun with, and just have a good time. So there's no, and then as far as like joining a team or the way that we do it, I mean, it really is a thing of come out to Sandlot Sunday. That's a thing that we host. It's a free, you show up, hang out. We got plenty of extra gloves, bats, baseballs.
Gotcha.
Have a good time, and then depending on if there's a squad looking for some extra players, or if it's something that you can commit to and show up for, there's always an opportunity to join a club or to even start a club. I mean, there's no gatekeepers, nothing like that. It's
Gotcha.
a thing of if you want to start a team,
I want to
you
say,
can start a team.
So
I think I heard, what is it, Harold from Sandlot Revolution? Is his name Harold?
Howard.
Howard. I'm sorry. I heard him. I believe it was him on one of their Sandlot Revolution podcasts. He basically said you're the director and you're casting your own movie. Like you're casting your characters and you want to make sure that all the characters are going to fit together. So like you said, there's definitely a test or a vibe check you got to pass to make sure you're going to fit in, because there's some of us that we may not fit in on some of the other teams, and some of those guys may not fit in with us.
There are places, there's men's leagues, there's different, depending on what kind of experience you want to have. There's multiple places that you can play. So Sandlot's more, again, open for folks that just want to hang out, have a good time, play some baseball, have a good attitude. It's not about winning or losing or
it's just kind of
being the
doing
best
that.
or nothing like that. Nobody's showing off. Everybody's out. Everybody tries. Everybody's doing the best they can, but nobody's yelling at anybody because they bobble the ball or anything like that. It's more about.
So now, as I caught earlier, so your teams are often co-ed, which is unusual. Is this right? Like
No, it's
you have-
not unusual.
Not in Sandlot.
Okay, but I'm saying, but in most leagues, like say minor leagues or bush leagues, they're not co-ed. Obviously.
Right. No, I don't believe so, which is still an odd thing to me. I don't quite understand, but in Sandlot, there's some teams that have 50-50. It just all depends on kind of how the team's formed and who's coming out to play ball. But no, we're open to anybody and everybody.
Gotcha. So. But you do adhere to some of the stuff, like occasionally, like, say, kind of what Major League Baseball does, so I just wanted to get this in right here. You guys play with the wooden bats, like the Major League does, and the drillers who are the minor league. Who the drill? Are they with the Dodgers?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So they use, but some of you will know that the high school and college kids have to use aluminum bats, and but these guys, even though they're Sandlot and all that, they still use the wooden bat like the Major League. Jake or Josh, you guys which one do you want to explain that? Why do those kids use the I would think the metal bats be hotter and more dangerous. But why do the kids essentially use the metal bats and you grown-ups use the wooden bats?
Well, somewhere along the line, I think in the 60s or 70s, they started integrating aluminum bats into lower league baseball, so like little leagues and those kind of things. And then somewhere along the way, college also adapted the aluminum bats. From what I understand, it's primarily out of economics. Wood bats break, and if you go through several bats in a season, then all of those add up. So it's an economic decision. And then since that time, aluminum is lighter, it's hollow, it has pop. So they've adopted that style. And then over the past, 50 or 60 years now, the technology has just gone bonkers. I mean, they have composite bats and carbon fiber bats and all of these different styles that are still within the aluminum context. But, us sandlotters, we're just like hopeless romantics. And we really appreciate the tradition in baseball. And so what we're doing is we've said this in other interviews before, but this is just like grown-up cosplay. And, if we're going to play baseball, we're going to play with real baseballs and we're going to play with wood bats. And it's just that simple. And,
Gotcha.
you got people who come from different levels of baseball, so they're accustomed to using aluminum bats. And there's always that learning curve, right, Josh, where for about anywhere from 2 or 3 Sandlot Sundays to as much as like a month, 3 months, or something around that time period, that they are learning the Sandlot strike zone.
Yeah.
So instead, they're thinking they're going to crush it, and then if the ball's coming in at 35 miles an hour, they don't have the patience to wait on
Right.
it. So, and they want to bring those aluminum bats so they can be hitting dingers into Rogers County, but that's just not what that is, and that all began in Austin.
Yeah. And so and maybe you know the answer to this. Did the Sandlot movement, did that kind of start at the Long Time with Jack?
Well, if you watch the Yeti documentary that they did on Jack,
Oh, yeah, that's
in the
right. They
Long
had
Time,
the team in Alabama.
Yeah, the New Bern Tigers. And
That's right.
So, whenever he was in grad school, he discovered this all-black team that played out in the way out in the middle of the country, and he was the only white guy to integrate that club. And they'd been playing for 80 years.
Yeah.
And whenever he got out of grad school and came back home, he missed that. And I mean, now that we've all been playing Sandlot, we know what that, you often say, Josh, that, whenever these people get out and reconnect with the ball, they suddenly find what they didn't know that they were missing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, you can see it on their face. As soon as, usually if a new person comes out, they kind of a little nervous and get out there. And once they see that it's, again, it's okay if it takes a little time to get things going again or whatever. But once you see them get a hit with a wood bat,
Yeah.
it's game changing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's over after that. And then how quickly it becomes such an important part of their lives.
Yeah.
It's something they look forward to. It's also an opportunity to have friends, family, kids come out and watch, somebody, a parent or a friend playing a sport, typically after an age where you're supposed to be playing a sport, So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. I think it can also be inspiring to see that adults can still have fun and be athletic and
We need the music.
be silly. And
To that point, like you said, it dramatically changes your weekly schedule.
Oh, yeah.
I know that my wife has said, if we hadn't have discovered Sandlot baseball, who knows what we would be doing right now.
Right.
And the three of us who play Sandlot in here, we know how much it, in 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever we've been playing, it's occupied our life in a way that we couldn't have imagined.
Oh, yeah.
And in a very positive way, because me and Jake have known each other. Well, as Jake likes to say, and I'm going to steal his line here, we've known each other longer than we haven't known each other. And I promise you, I'll never forget. I was sitting on the couch. Jess reaches over and she says, "Hey, Jake just messaged me on Facebook. He's trying to get hold of you." And got in touch and he said, "Hey, you want to come play some baseball?"
That's because you weren't on social media.
Right.
at
I
the
wasn't on
time.
social media at the time. And I was like, "Well, yeah." And so we showed up to Heller Park that Sunday, and part of me is very thankful. It had been a long time since I swung a baseball bat because I got to start swinging a wood bat, right? And so it was like, but I'll still never forget showing up that first day, and it transports you back to, like, you know, you feel like Big Al, you know, with the Little League World Series hitting dingers, you know. Now you quickly remember afterwards that you're not 12 years old, but you know, and that's some.
I'm the only person here who hasn't hit a dinger yet, so I don't know if I'm ever going to amount to Big Al's stature.
Well,
we'll get
look,
you there.
I got lucky. I got lucky. But yeah, I mean, I had a guy, Jim. He's in Georgia. They run a podcast called Children of the '80s, and he saw the video from the game Saturday, and he said, "I am in awe of you guys. How can you still do that at your age? You know." And this is he coached travel teams, and he had pitching coaches that played in different levels of minors and majors and stuff. And he's like, "I'm just in awe of that." You know, and so there's something to be said for what's going on, for the movement that, you know, that you guys played a big part in.
Yeah, and a lot of that is consistency. That's one thing that Jake and I from the beginning really wanted to incorporate into our team was the best that we can if it's a decent Sunday out, and sometimes if it's not a decent Sunday out. We were having Sandlot,
Yeah.
and that's to get people, you know, they need, you know, to get new people out there. You don't want to waste their time.
Yeah.
You don't want to, you got to respect, you know, people make plans, people have stuff going on, people have lives. So our thing was, you know, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right. And we got out there, and I think for that first year, it was every Sunday. Like I said, it started in December. But
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I think Jake named it the Polar Bear Sandlot Club or
Yeah.
something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
we have a logo floating around somewhere. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, because it was like, what, it was at 21 degrees,
yeah.
sleeting.
Wow.
I mean, I have pictures
Yeah.
where you had like the big winter wool hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
Wow.
remember, we even bought those skull
To cover,
gators.
to cover
Yeah.
your yeah.
I don't even know where mine is anymore, but man, it
Yeah,
was so cold.
But yeah, I mean, so, and this is what I kind of want to, you know, because I want you guys to be able to have credit where credit is due, because, you know, we went from having 5 of us out at Heller Park to, I mean, there's 5 teams in Tulsa now.
Yeah. No, and so after we started up, like I said, it seemed like, I mean, and maybe it wasn't, but it seemed like we got to a full club, you know, for us, a roster pretty quick, because again, it was, and we lucked out, you know, because there is a thing, we're not looking for, we've had people message us telling us what they can run, the sprint speed and the college, whatever. And
He's
to
not
me, honestly,
embellishing.
no.
Yeah, I mean, this is truth.
And to me, that's more, there's no tryouts for our team. There's
Yeah.
no, you know, and to me, that's like, again, not to say you wouldn't invite those people out, but typically that person's probably not going to enjoy what we do if that's the style of ball they're looking for. You know, there's, like I said, there's other places where you can go and do that. And, you know, but again, you know, always send nice messages saying, hey, come out to Sandlot first and just kind of see what you think.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a thing of making sure you're there, making sure you're having fun. You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that, you know, to keep
So
it,
much. Yeah,
to keep
I mean-
it,
Oh, it's hard not to say like everything that we've gone through, but like a couple of points that I've been thinking about is that Sandlot, especially Tulsa Sandlot, is that playing in this particular, it's not a league, but playing in this community, it's a great equalizer because we have people who never picked up a bat and ball before, who have been drawn to Sandlot for whatever particular reasons that bring them out. And then we have people who play at a really competitive level. You know, like JR on our team, Showtime, like he played at a high competitive level and played JUCO ball and, you know, played alongside Ben Zobrist. So like, you know, this is a guy who was in the ranks and grinding his teeth, and you get somebody like me who never played organized baseball. So there's that magic part about it, but also to go back to like the genesis of our club, like it needs to be noted that for some people, like there's the varying levels that you've talked about this, Josh, the varying level of effort that you're going to put into it. And that first year and a half, like Josh and I were working like 2 full-time jobs.
If not 3.
Yeah, and like buying all the stuff ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all that swag, all those T-shirts, all those stickers, all the like bases and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We paid for out of our pockets. So like it was a jaunt for a while, and it was I don't think we ever got burned out, but boy, it was close.
Oh yeah, no, and it's
can
one of
imagine,
those
yeah.
things where it's like you want it to be a reality, and sometimes having those things makes it feel more real. So
Yeah.
when you're getting people on board, it's like, you know, we promise this is going to happen. You know, like look at our logo. We got stickers. You know.
Oh my
and
gosh!
started-
Remember the hats thing?
Oh
Like-
yeah.
like
Oh, I think I went
trying to get somebody to pay
yeah.
dues, and then like we don't even need all your dues. We just
Yeah.
need a part of it so
Yeah.
that we can buy hats.
Oh, the first hat that I had was just a black blank cap that I got at Academy or something, and then went to Michael's and bought an R, and I, just a felt generic font R, and then couldn't figure out how to heat it onto the hat. So I just super glued it onto the hat just so I could show up, and I still have it. That's
You
the first
wear that
Rumblers.
every
Yeah,
now and
once in a while.
again. Yeah.
I still wear the first Tulsa Rumblers hat that Jess got me for
That's
Christmas
right,
in
yep.
2018.
Yeah.
She got it made at Liz. It says Tulsa Rumblers baseball on
Yeah,
it.
and that's
And I still wear it.
Yeah.
All the time.
And that's part of when we were saying about how with the growth and everything. I think again, you try to make sure you're doing it right. You try to make sure people are having a good time, and from our sandlots, and that was the key. We didn't even have we had the Cap City Crowbers came to town and gave us
Yeah.
our first home game.
Yeah. Shout out to them for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was an amazing experience. We had a bunch of people out, and it was so. I think that kicked it off in a good way. That people saw like there's a team from Austin coming to Tulsa to play. Nobody really understood it. I don't know that we even understood.
No.
Most of it at the time.
Must have understood enough because Dan is now a Rumbler.
Yeah,
From
so
being
Dan-
a Cobra
Well,
to be,
and our hosting game is unrivaled. Like if somebody agrees to play us and they come to play on our home turf, we're going to treat them right. We're going to show them everything cool about our city that we can within a weekend's time, and we're going to make them feel appreciated when they're here.
yeah.
And that's been since the very beginning that we've adopted that. It's just that Commonwealth kind of like treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated thing.
Yeah, and that's been, I think, one of the most successful things that we've done as far as the Sandlot thing is it's trying to get you're asking people to spend money, time away from family, away from work, doing all that, and when they come to Tulsa to play a baseball game, nobody ever goes back home, and we've never done this either. Where you're like, you go, you drive 7 hours or fly. It's gotten crazy. People,
Right.
They're flying places now, and I think we might have a couple of trips where we're hitting a flight or two this year for the first time. I think for most of us, but nobody ever goes back and says, "Oh, how was Tulsa?" Nobody says, "Oh, the Rumblers were a good team or a bad team or we won or we lost." Nobody actually cares about that. They want to know, like, "Oh, cool, yeah, we played a game or two,
Right.
But also we went and we went to the Outsiders' house. We went to a Tulsa Drillers game. They took us to
Excellent.
Elgin Park. That's it. These are mini vacations, the way that we see it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
Excellent.
baseball's just kind of something that happens, and that might be the reason that you come.
Yeah.
But the real thing that people remember and take away from it is the experience overall.
the community, the
Right.
camaraderie. And,
So we really hype that up and go as far as we can with that. Is if you want to have every minute of your weekend taken up doing something, we split time with half a crew will start a barbecue, the other
Yeah.
half will go on a tour, the other half is setting up tickets for drillers,
Yeah.
and just making sure that when you go back home, if anybody asks if it's worth it to come to Tulsa, it's always a yes.
And if you ever really want to know the answer to that, to me, Keith from the Austin Drag, when he was on Sandlot Revolution, he talked about playing at Lacey Park, and I still get goosebumps just thinking about what he said. And it just his description of his experience here, you could tell that was very heartfelt and what it meant to him playing here. And he's down in Austin where they've got the long time and all this stuff, and he's talking about Tulsa.
Well, we really love the Drag too. They're kind of our Austin counterparts.
Yeah.
Keith and Tyler and all of the all the gang that plays on the team, like they're all just like extended kinfolk.
Yeah.
And they're coming back to Tulsa in May, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Keith is a big Cubs fan too, so that's extra brownie points
Yeah,
for him
you guys
there.
have that in common. So
he understands the pain is real.
I come from the custom rodder background.
Yeah.
I used to build custom cars and
The
lowriders.
Reverend.
That's right. Reverend's Extreme Vehicles. Seems like a lifetime ago. But one thing about that community is the camaraderie and the kinship that they have. And so whenever I discovered Sandlot, there was a lot of like overlapping qualities that they have where like I know now that we're so immersed in the Sandlot community that if I have car trouble or if I need something in a particular city or if I need a couch to crash on, like I've got all these people in Texas and North Carolina and Wisconsin and all these different places that they will treat me like family, and many times they'll drop what they're doing just to be able to help a guy out.
And if we had enough time, I would ask you to tell the story about when y'all went down to the Long Time and Maxie and y'all crashed there with Maxie.
Unbelievable.
I can just imagine that story. So, and I know, and I'm just going to kind of pause for a second. Justin, I'm going to bring you back in here real quick.
All right.
Because I know a lot of people are going, man, cigars and baseball and it's Sandlot sermons, whatever, we want to call it. But there's something that, and I'll even throw in the podcast community, it is all very familiar. After what my experiences have been in the Sandlot community, I get that same in the podcast community, where it's not a competition. People want to help each other. They want, even Howard and them at the Sandlot Revolution, they have their own Sandlot podcast, but they will be the first to repost this when we put it up.
You see that in like makers communities too. I really follow that kind of stuff where
What's a maker?
A maker is a person who's like Joshua said earlier, the DIYers, the people who are making things on lathes or building their own.
Gotcha.
And those kind of things. And there's a like an international syndicate of these people who are just DIYing, but like they're YouTubing it and they're filming it and they're posting it on Instagram
and they're showing everybody else how to do it. Like, here's how. So Josh, as a maker, I want to officially request a Tulsa Rumblers cigar ashtray. If you think you can, is that the kind of work you do?
I could pull that off. I think I could.
There's not much Josh
cannot do.
So if you could make one for the car hole lounge,
okay.
Kind of like this, only cooler.
Oh yeah.
But
if it's got a Rumblers logo on it, it's already going to be 200% cooler.
All right. So speaking of that too, also again, as someone who is brand new to Sandlot and all that, so if I'm jacked up about the Rumblers, I say, you know what, I'm going to head out there. So, but first thing, what I need is Rumblers swag. So I need some Rumblers swag. Where can I go?
Right now, the best way is to show up at a game or a Sandlot Sunday. We've got a little swag container of some odds and ends left over. But this year we're setting up a few different things to have a little more consistency with it, and have a store hooked up to our website for merch and everything. Because right now it's me or Jake getting an order, fulfilling it, running to the post. We're just not set up for that kind of thing. But we have, with that said, we have sent Rumblers hats to Japan, all over the place, but it's just a thing of, it's just, we have to fine tune that process.
There's Rumblers
we have a few different
representation in Paris and there's
some wild places, stuff that you'd never,
Cozumel, Mexico. I remember that.
Does your website at least have the schedule of games, or
we will right now, and that's one thing with Sandlot is, again, since there's no league, there's nothing, there's no official. Sometimes it can change a lot. We've posted it before, and then somebody cancels, and then you end up moving to a different weekend, and then so it's one of those things where we do have we usually play about, I think this year we have about 2 official games a month. Some months we have 3. We do have a couple of travel trips that we're going on this year, but we'll have a more official schedule up. It'll be on the website, but also the best way to kind of keep up is on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, so you guys are on Instagram, so you can look and go ahead and give your Instagram handles so people can find you. So maybe they can say, "Hey, is there a game? When's the next game?" That way.
Yeah, it's just if you search Tulsa Rumblers Facebook.
Okay, so Tulsa Rumblers,
and then that's all. You're also, are you on X?
No,
No, I don't think we have a.
Do we have a TikTok page?
We have the name of a TikTok
Okay.
page.
Instagram is kind of like the unified communication.
Yeah, that seems to be.
database for
So Sandlot in general, right?
Yeah.
So I can go to Instagram, search Tulsa Rumblers, find you guys, and then kind of keep up. It's like I'll shoot you a message, say, "Hey, Josh, when's the next game?"
Yeah,
kind of deal.
But there's also Sandlot Sunday posting, and the easy way to find that is that the Tulsa Rumblers will post it, but also our friends, the Tulsa City Jesters, will frequently post at the same time, so that people who are interested in playing baseball but maybe don't have the schedule that will allow for them to be able to play regularly, that is another way for them to connect to that. So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And another thing that I love about the Sandlot environment is, like Josh mentioned earlier, is it's a very family-friendly environment. Like, if you go to, and I've been to some like co-ed softball games, not really the place I want my kids running around, right?
And it can get intense.
Because it's like, it's more of a drinking competition than a softball, whatever, but I love not like, I just want my kids to come out and watch me play. No, I mean, that's great, but it's the socialization. It's run around like a kid, like we did when we were kids.
Right.
Get in the dirt and roll around in the mud.
And we pretty frequently have cookouts. We just had one last weekend, so it's not every game, but like you can pretty much count on that hot dogs or hamburgers are going to be a regular thing at the ballpark pretty soon. So,
and if you'd like to sign up for that job, just hit them up at Tulsa Rumblers on Instagram. We'd love to have a chef de cuisine or whatever they call that out there, a professional grill master.
Well, can we take a pause real quick? I brought some housewarming gifts for the car hole.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And the car hole is always interesting.
While Jake's doing that, hey, how's that Padron treating you over there,
Okay,
Justin?
I did want to kind of, I'm kind of past the halfway point on it, and as a habanero, hey. So it is very mild, but it's very earthy. There's not a lot of spice. There is some leather, but it's I would say it's very mild, very enjoyable. Now, if you're looking for a Tabernacle Maduro, this isn't it. But this is a great. I tell you what. The more I smoke this, the more I want an American lager beer with it.
Yeah.
And that's not just because I like beer. That's a legitimate pairing. But so I would. Hey, what'd you say the price range on these?
So these for the Padron 7,000, you're going to pay between $11 and $14, depending on which shop you go to.
And for Padron, guys, if you don't know, Padron is one of the iconic legends of the cigar industry. That is a steal. Okay, 11 to 13. That is an absolute steal. So would definitely, but now this is definitely on the milder side for me. So Sean, how's it treating you?
I've smoked this cigar on a couple of episodes, and it's like you said, it's a very mellow Habano. See, I almost said habanero.
I know.
And it's just, it's Padron. It is just a great cigar. It's very mild. Like you said, it's very earthy. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of leather in there on the retro hell. Not a lot of spice, but it is, you're not going to get a lot of sweetness, chocolates, things like that.
No.
But it's just, if you just want a good cigar to sit down and enjoy, this is, this and the Brick House by J.C. Newman are two go-to cigars for me.
Now, I tell you, I will just, you guys, pairings, you're always interested in pairings. This one, I think, would not be a good pair with coffee. I think a good, strong cup of coffee might kind of drown this out a little bit. So I'm thinking more like an American lager or light lager, not your stouts, not your IPAs, but this would be more, Yingling or PBR. I'm not going to say the B word.
Okay.
But a Yingling or a PBR or Miller High Life, what have you. That kind of just knock around beers. You know what I'm saying? Not all that craft stuff. But
Are they still making High Life?
I think so.
Well, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Champagne.
Or is
and that's another thing.
Genuine Draft? Maybe that's what I was thinking. I don't know.
MGD is what you're thinking of,
Yeah.
and no, MGD's that's been gone for a little bit, but High Life is still around. I've seen it. Well, at the liquor store, I've seen it. I've not seen it like at.
Well, that's probably aging my partying days. So.
Well, hey, I tell you, I had someone earlier saying, we were talking about different logos, like for Smoking Sounds and stuff like that, and she was saying, you guys could have like cigars and wine coolers, like in the logo. And I'm like, where have you seen a wine cooler like in the past 30, 40 years?
Wallace and James going.
Yeah. Hey, what's the word?
Thunderbird.
What's
It
the
reminds
price?
me of
$1 twice.
our beloved Tory Brown, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He used to drink those strawberry
Natter days.
Or peach. The peach natty lights too.
yeah.
Wow,
Just to
man.
have a headache for the rest of the week. I think I have a headache right now.
I think I just got, and I don't even drink it. I just got one.
But,
yeah, and it's very fitting. You have your number 5 on. I got my number 5 on.
Oh, yeah.
And
So that's guys. So that's how the Padron 7000 is hitting us. So definitely get in touch with us if you like Padron, if this is a good representation of them, especially for the budget price. So now, Jake, you wanted to bless the Car Hole Lounge. Is that right?
Correct. I brought some junk for you guys.
He's going to bless us with
Prop
junk.
up.
That's right. Hey, we love junk.
Okay, so the first thing I have here is an old gas station sign. It's a stop engine, no smoking. So
That is perfect for
I
the
thought
car
it was
lounge.
fitting that we have a no smoking sign in the Car Hole Lounge.
That's
So,
right.
Thank you for not smoking.
Yeah, so this is the first of it. It's just an old, beat up 1980s, probably a self-service sign. I'm sure you'll see it on Instagram when they post about it.
Yeah.
So this is the first part of it. It's kind of heavy. Here you go, Sean.
All right, let me reach over here and get this.
Oh,
Sorry, I forgot I have the small.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
that
heavy.
is, and it is. It's a solid metal sign.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like-
double sided, and you can put it somewhere where you could have it on both sides. But I also put holes in it. They used to be in my hot rod shop, by the way. So there's a little history to that.
Oh, excellent.
And then the other thing I think you guys will appreciate is since this is the Car Hole Lounge, I brought this antique BF Goodrich tire ashtray.
Oh, nice.
Man.
Sweet.
Yeah, and Cletus, Sean.
Yeah.
This is Vern gave this to me.
no-
So
oh,
mutual
not-
friend of
I
ours.
was just talking about him earlier.
Yeah, so I got this from Vern
Speaking of
back
beer.
in the 90s.
Wow.
And, so I thought this is fitting that you need an ashtray for the Car Hole Lounge.
That's
It
right.
is the shape of a wheel.
That is so awesome.
Oh
Well,
man,
thank-
that is awesome. Thank you, sir. Man,
Yeah.
that is just and that is right up our alley too. Because we love all that kind of stuff.
And speaking of beer, I think one of these would pair great with Elgin Park Brewery, proud sponsor of the Tulsa Rumblers.
There you go.
They have a bunch of different lagers and pale ales, and so I don't know all the lingo of beer nowadays, but
You
it's,
can't get a bad beer there.
yeah,
It's all
that's
good
what
stuff.
I've
oh
heard.
yeah.
And
They treat us right. That's for
yes,
sure.
they do, and a great slice of pizza if you're down there going to a Drillers game. Definitely make sure you stop in and get you some food. And again, it's kind of the environment as well. It's kind of like going out to a Sandlot game. It's you're not going to not meet a friend in there.
And when I was there, my first game, they had a keg there that they were going to tap, but the tap had malfunctioned and wouldn't work. Otherwise, it would have been a full on keg party, and I'd probably still be there, helping them clean up, of course.
You'd be sleeping on the couch.
That's
still,
right,
huh?
man. Because the little place where the keg was, there was like a little couch, just in case, you couldn't find your car,
Can't make it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but
take care.
so guys, that ought to tell you what kind of environment this is. I mean, there was a keg on site, and they were again. We would have gotten into it, but the tap was. But the tap even
That's
had
been fixed. It's been
Uh-oh.
fixed.
There
We're
we
back
go.
in
Look
it.
at there.
Ooh, okay.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. You heard it here first. So, and the tap even looks like a baseball bat, like the little thing you pull down to get it to
Yeah,
come
I think
out.
Jake, did you make that?
That's what.
I can't remember if I made that or Dan made that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
But that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I had in my notes is because the things that have spawned out of Sandlot stuff is what I have in my notes here. Jake takes broken baseball bats and makes bottle openers out of them.
Yeah, those are.
Ooh,
obviously-
I need to talk to you later.
If you just want to see some amazing work follow Josh's, is it Sandlot Baseball Cards on Instagram?
Yep.
Incredible work that you do on those baseball cards.
Those are graded cards, by the way.
Oh yeah, graded
Yes.
slab too. It's official.
And and this is kind of a question I had, Jake. This is kind of more geared towards you, is because the Rumblers play at Lacey Park, where the T-Town Clowns played, and not to get into just a whole history lesson,
Sure.
but the Drillers, after the Rumblers kind of started bringing up the T-Town Clowns, did they wear the T-Town Clowns jerseys prior to the Rumblers, or is that something that spawned from you and your history and all that stuff?
No. So they've had a throwback. Well, it's actually in celebration of Juneteenth, which
Okay.
is the emancipation of slaves. And so Juneteenth is a really important part of Tulsa history and community, especially within Greenwood. And so the Tulsa Drillers, since they've moved to One Oak, have had a throwback night where they don the T-Town Clowns jerseys. And so whenever some of those people were still alive, they would have them out there to throw first pitches or to have like a moment of commemoration for them on the side of the field. So that's not how I heard of the T-Town Clowns, but they had that throwback night as early as 2011. I began my graduate work on that around the same time period, but so the Drillers have been they've been an important part of preserving that history. And beyond that, I was able to kind of find what I say is this history hidden in plain sight, and was fortunate to know some of those last guys who were living who played during the segregated era. And the T-Town Clowns had two different ballparks. One was Virgin Street Park, and that's the one that's most often commemorated. But Lincoln Park, which is now Lacey Park, is where we play. That has been a ballpark since the 1910s, 1920s, whenever it was Berry Park. And, that community has used that park and put it through all of its paces, So, like, the T-Town Clowns, before they were professional ball players, played at Berry Park and then became Lincoln Park. And so they would split their practice time and games between Lincoln Park and Virgin Street Park whenever it was built. And then after Virgin Street Park closed down, they then went back to Lincoln Park, and they played their last decade there, and a lot of magic happened there. And I happen to play second base most of the time, and I actually play in the same position of the old-timer that I befriended and was able to give his eulogy at his funeral. And
That is so cool.
Yeah, Sylvester Nichols, he was a really important part of preserving that history. So we play in the footsteps of legends at Lacey Park.
And Rob, I've heard him called all the above. I mean, he's still
Robert Bob Pearson.
Justin, you got to meet him at the
he
game on
was out
Saturday.
there.
I mean, he's still out there talking trash and
He's our greatest fan, though, and he's an honorary Rumbler, and he played with the T-Town Clowns whenever he was a very young man, actually younger than my son is now. But he and his longtime childhood friend Roy Foster, who went on to play in the major leagues, they both played with the T-Town Clowns and hung with men. Like, they were that talented back then. So,
wow.
Bob is in his, I think he's close to 80 now.
Yeah.
And, he just loves that we've brought back the park the way that it has been, because when we got to Lacey Park, from when we bounced around to the different sandlots that we played in, it was, within months of being raised. Like, they were going to tear it down, and it was just going to be another open field. So in some ways, it was kind of serendipitous that we found it through our teammate Derek Dyson, who lives in the same community, and we found it, and it's become our home, and we have all these different working relationships with different people in the community now. So it's really been a community and team effort to make the park what it is right now.
And I'll tell you, one of the moments that I'll always remember too is when you guys presented Bob with his T-Town Clowns jersey, and that was amazing.
Those are game used jerseys that the Drillers wore also on the field. So it was a magical moment. Bob told me at the end of that day, he threw out the first pitch, I believe, that same day, and he said, if I die today, I will have died a happy man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's something that he texts me often, and if he can't make it out, he's still sending me these texts in all caps.
Wow. That's probably because he still uses a flip phone.
He does. He still uses a flip phone. But he's always wishing us luck. He's always sending me. He's like, "Hey GM," calling me general manager. He's like, "Hey GM, you guys go get him in Texas," and those kind of things. So Bob has been a real. It's nice to have that connection, that our team connects back to that historic team. So it's really special.
And just a kind of a question, and so I think this is what, our 5th year as the Rumblers?
It's our
6th
season. Yeah.
Okay. So is there one specific moment that sticks out to you? Is it a game or a moment? Is there something that each of you have that's like, this is one of those moments that just, because like mine was, obviously playing at the Field of Dreams. It's got to be.
Yeah, and we need to talk about that before we finish, but there's been so many.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cool.
Well, and that's why I kind of wanted to lead with this question, is because there's, I could run down I will say this because I think maybe both of you are too humble to say this, but there's a lot of things that I'll just speak for myself that I have got to experience that I would not have gotten to experience if it wasn't for you guys. I would have never played at One Oak Field. I'd have never played at Lacey Park. I would have never played at Field of Dreams. You guys have got to go. I didn't get to make the trip to the Bull Durham Field.
That was pretty magical. Josh didn't get to go either.
Yeah,
somebody had to get married.
Yeah.
So,
but
all right. So, let's hear about again, for a lot of the people coming on board. Let's hear about Field of Dreams. What do you mean, and what happened?
Well, so we played at the Field of Dreams.
Not once, but
twice. But the first time, I think I got on. Maybe it was through their Instagram or something, and I didn't realize that it was so. It's just like it was in the movie.
Yeah,
the house,
yeah.
the field. They've built on a few extra amenities and things out there, but
okay, so that place is it's linked to the movie.
Yes,
yeah,
100%,
it's
Roger. Okay.
It's everything. So it looks like you kind of step back in time, kind of deal.
Oh wow!
But I had
James
seen
Earl Jones is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw where you could. The first thing I saw is that you could rent the house, and I thought, oh, that'd be so cool to have all the Rumblers go and stay in the house, and we can hang out and kind of check out the field. And I think I texted in our group text at the time, and Brett then messaged me. Brett Spears, who's the commissioner,
He's our Rumblers. He had been our Rumblers liaison.
Yeah,
he's kind of taken a backseat role.
Yeah, I think he went for years and years, just one amazing thing after the next amazing thing.
Well, when you're at full throttle, I think
Yeah.
it can get exhausting.
Oh yeah.
Just dealing with most of us can get exhausting on a day-to-day basis. But I think he texted me just on our own text thread and said, "Hey man, are you serious about this?" And I was like, "Well, kind of. Yes, I'm serious in the way of like it would be cool, but that's obviously."
Well, when we first started the team, that was our 5-year plan. That was going to be like our hallmark moment, was to play at the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I realized that you could do that.
Right. Yeah.
It was just something that it was like, wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah.
And then he said, "Well, what if we got?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't." And then like 2 days later, he had the guy's name, had already pitched an event, had already set up like 4 other teams. It just went from 0 to 100 super fast. So we ended up setting a Sandlot 2-day. It was a 2-day, I think, the first time too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had, was it 6 teams?
Yeah.
I think 6 teams total. We drove. First, we drove to Winona, Minnesota.
Man,
because that was just like an
trip,
hour and a half away from. We were all delirious at this point. And we said, "You know what?
Well,
Let's just keep going."
We had a really good partner. That's why we went to. Winona.
Pillbox Back Company. They're out of Winona, and so we got to go crash there, see that town, check out the facilities there. Incredible, and then got to play 2 games at the Field of Dreams, and it was a huge success. And they actually connected shortly after that and started on the next year. And so
the Winona Riders were born out of that.
Yeah. No, and that that was an amazing. But those kind of things also, and again, Brett did 99.99% of everything.
I wanted to make
that.
sure that we said we're usually the faces of the Rumblers, but the Rumblers are not successful without the team that we have.
Yeah, and that truly.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that 1,000%.
Dan McClintock, former Cap City Cobra, he's our treasurer, and he works so much on making
field maintenance manager.
He is the groundskeeper and general, caller out of bullshits.
Yeah. No, yeah, he won't let it slide. But the one thing with those big events, it can be stressful just because so much.
Oh yeah,
is going on. So once it's all said and done, then you can kind of look back at it and say like, oh, some of my favorites are like the Dallas trip that we made last year. Austin is always a great time. Where it's a little more. You've done it a couple of times. It's not as.
It's a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
You
can kind of ease into it. You've met one or two of the teams before. And it's a little. So to me, like those, and again, it's really not the baseball. Like I can't really say there's a moment where we've had some really cool stuff happen, but for me the memories are more like hanging out before or after the game or seeing a new place or in Dallas we hung out with Patty who is the manager and owner GM of the Oak Cliff 86ers.
Yeah.
And we've met him before, but the last time we went, he let us kind of crash at his place, and we just ended up like 4:00 in the morning on his porch, talking, hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah.
And he showed us some cool Dallas sites that we wouldn't have seen otherwise.
So that to me, like that's, I don't know what the score was of the games we played, but I do remember that.
But
so
that goes back
moments.
to what you were saying earlier about Sandlot. That is Sandlot, right?
Right.
It's the baseball game's almost second or third.
It's an excuse to an excuse for like tourism too. Like we get to see all these different places. Like Dyersville, it's a small community where the Field of Dreams is, but it's a quaint little community, and I enjoyed my time there.
Oh,
and
it's great.
Oh, I loved it.
All those different places. We're going to go to Milwaukee this season, and
super excited.
When you headed
about that,
there?
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, as soon as we pulled out of town of Dyersville, they were already asking for us to set it up for the next year. If I'm not mistaken,
it
was that successful for not just for the Field of Dreams, but for the
and they were
the little
talking
town.
about that at like the city council meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah,
how
Wow.
grateful
Yeah.
that they
but
were.
but
So-
if you do find yourself in Dyersville, make sure you get you something to eat before 9:00 because that town shuts down. Right? I haven't seen a McDonald's that closes at 9:00 in forever. They do.
Are you trying to say Uber Eats doesn't reach out
No,
there?
no.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
No, you're going to be paying a big delivery fee.
So when are you guys headed to Milwaukee?
Milwaukee's July 12th, 13th, 14th.
Oh, okay, excellent. Okay,
Casey's got some really cool stuff planned for us. He was just messaging with me this week about some other stuff that he's added. So we're going to tailgate at the Brewers before the game, and we're going to go to a game. And then we're going to play a game against them on another professional field. That's another cool thing about like this Sandlot and this Sandlot team is that I've often said like we have the courage to be told no, and that that boldness, if you will, has provided us some pretty cool benefits. I mean, we play at One Oak Field. We do that regularly now.
Yeah.
And so we're going to play the Bangers up there, and we're going to play on a professional field there, and they're just going to show us a really good time. He's even mentioned a wiffle ball tournament while we're up there now. So, Casey's going to treat us right, and all the Bangers. They're really cool. They came down here to play us, and I wasn't able to play all that much with my own team, but because they were here, I wanted to make sure that they were treated right and that they felt at home, and we've really established a great working relationship with them.
Yeah, and Jim played for the Bangers
Yep.
and I hope he's involved in the
I think
the
he
event
is.
up there as well. I mean, we could go down a list. The Ramblers,
Yeah.
that was a fun group of guys that have in town. The Cobras, like you said, the Drag.
Seth was. So I've known
Kutsu.
Seth. I've known Seth with the Cobras for a while, and Seth was. He and I kind of hit it off and talked baseball and all that kind of thing, and work and obligations has taken him all over the country. But one thing he wanted to make sure is that it was their 5th season when they played us. and they came up and invested in us, and it was really good. It was a black and white game.
Yeah.
Because they're black and white too, and it was a fun way to kickstart what we've been doing, and we're just still doing it.
Right. And I don't know if you guys feel this way, but maybe it's because of all of the interactions on like Instagram with all the different Sandlot clubs or the individuals, but it's almost like when the Kutsu came into town. I'd never met one of those guys before in person, but I already felt like I knew them. Do you guys have that feeling sometimes?
Oh, I talk to Joseph all the time. He's the guy that he and Michael Lardy, right? They're the guys that operate that team. And Joseph just texted me yesterday to check in and see how it was. So, like, you develop these friendships where you may not talk for a couple weeks or a couple months or even a season, but as soon as you hook back up with them, you pick right back up where they left off. And
that's excellent.
Yeah.
and so they traveled all the way here from middle of North Carolina, and we were so happy to have them, and so huge shout out to the Kudzu.
Yeah, and they've got Juan now, an ex-Rumbler.
They took Juan from us.
So, but that's also cool that people when they move, they're searching for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's kind of how Juan found us, right? His wife got a job in Oklahoma, and the first thing he did was, who can I play ball with?
Yeah. And he traveled 2 hours every day to play with us, not play us.
Yeah.
Now I have only one little special memory, that from. So when I made it out to the Tulsa Rumblers game, it was almost 40 years to. I think when I went out with the baseball team, I went out to a couple of uncles of mine played on this team. They were sponsored like by. I think like Tom's Potato Chips or something like that, and they were playing these other teams, sponsored by other, so it was that kind of league, it was that. But so 40 years, almost to the month, I saw my first baseball game like that. Had my first beer, and then so I was, I had some Yingling Flight out there with the Rumblers. Yeah, it was almost 40 years to the month there. So,
well, if Tom's wants to sponsor us, we could use some potato chips out at Lacey Park too.
Hey, that reminded me of the Bad News Bears as soon as you said that.
so I just so some of I'm 54, so you can imagine I was with a couple of my uncles there, and unlike most people, when I drank, I think it was a regular Coors, and when I did. Most people when they have their first beer, it's disgusting, and oh man, but I literally said, "Where have you been all my life?"
And it's just fitting that you had a Coors out at Lacey Park with the Rumblers.
That's right. I did.
All comes full circle.
So so now that I know that the keg tap is fixed, I'm definitely going to have to be bringing my 48-ounce refillable cup out there.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Your Sonic cup.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Well, what have we missed, gentlemen? What have we forgotten?
Well, to your point, Justin, that's why Sandlot is so special. Is that the reason why we play this game is because there's some kind of connection at the very core level of why we like this game, why we love this game, why we continue to. Put ourselves out there and come back hurt every week. And, there's a reason why we do that. And it's because those memories that we develop with the people that we love and the special memories that we've developed in the relationship to that game. So, that's why Sandlot is special. It's different from other leagues and different communities is because of that level of of the game. And
if I may, if you guys remember when Jake was on the last episode, we were at the Tobacco Pouch, and I was talking about third space. Where men need that. That home is for your first, and then work is second. But then you need that third space to be where you could just hang out, get away from your and see this Sandlot. This is exactly another. Because we had talked about a cigar lounge. We had talked about that kind of stuff. But Sandlot fits into that. Exactly into that third space, what I was talking about that guys need. And obviously, I mean, look, when they leave town and have to move somewhere else, they immediately look for that third space where can I play ball?
Sure.
And that just
Not a
fits
third
right in.
location.
Right. Not a, not, yeah, but just they need a third space to be in that's not home, that's not work.
Why don't we like a third location? Cletus?
Oh God, that's a whole episode all in of itself.
Yeah,
Justin,
and I think that's true for everybody. I mean, I think everyone needs a third space.
Yeah.
Some might need a fourth space.
Yeah.
But I think, and if that's, again, it's for everyone. Anybody that's got a good attitude and wants to hang out. Again, the baseball. If you like baseball, that's obviously a bonus.
Right.
But yeah. So if you need a spot to come, just kind of get away, meet some new people. I mean, that's the greatest thing too. Is I'm in my mid 40s at this point, and I've made more friends as an adult
Right.
than I ever
Yeah.
did as
Yeah.
a kid.
Yeah.
And that's not very typical. I don't
Really
think.
close friends.
Yeah, not
Really?
just acquaintances, but
Yeah.
like I have a whole group of people now, in Tulsa, but also elsewhere. But I mean that I know what's up. We go back and forth on things. So, it's a...
Yeah, they genuinely care about you. I mean, the reason why
Yeah.
Joseph checked on me this week is because I'd had a loss, and he just randomly texted me to touch base, and that's really important.
Right.
I
Oh,
would
yeah.
not have known this man if it weren't for baseball.
Right.
For something about
Excellent.
baseball.
Well, that is
and
just...
none of us would have known Greg if it wasn't for baseball. and I bring him up because
You got to be careful on bringing up Greg.
this is
Watch it.
I had one of the most heartwarming moments. Greg, if you know Greg, he's not much of a hugger, right? And after the game, he gave me a hug, and he said, "Can you believe this is what like this with Greg? This is what like our 8th season or something, 7th, 8th season,
Yeah.
playing ball with him." And he said, "Who thought we would be doing this this long?" And that means a lot coming from anybody. But
Yeah.
Greg
Oh, that's
giving you a
high
hug,
praise.
yeah, that's
high praise.
That's it's pretty cool, And
Greg doesn't like being around us, but he actually loves being.
right, yeah. And if you know Greg, you know exactly what we're talking about. But that was just a very touching moment because it's like, God, it really has been that many years. And like you said,
Yeah.
I've made more friends as an adult than I ever did when I was.
We
a
watched
kid.
each other's kids grow.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's-
That's wild seeing these kids.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
from they were just all babies, and now
Right.
suddenly they're, taller than most of us. And
well,
it's like, wait a second.
that's not saying much for myself.
yeah. Well, and and even after our game, a bunch of the kids were out there playing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in between games. So
yeah,
it's like-
and that was cool to see. They just kind of picked it up. So let me just run through for everybody. So Sean, you typically you're a catcher.
Well, let's use that
Well, I'm
term
just,
loosely.
well,
A former catcher.
Well,
I try.
So what's your main position, Jake?
Sorry, I just took a drink.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
all
sorry.
right. It's down. I usually am a second baseman because my arm is junk, but somehow I figured out how to pitch, and I still don't have any velocity, but I've been effective on the bump a couple times.
And Josh?
I kind of float around shortstop, left field, center field,
General Superman on the field.
Yeah, Mr. Everything.
just wherever
He's a human highlight reel.
Well, my brother played a lot of baseball, and again the more sponsored ones. Like we never heard of Sandlot back in those days, but he would always say, and he was good enough he could say this. He would say, if I'm not playing shortstop, I'm not playing.
Oh,
Because-
that's not. That's not.
you
this
wouldn't
team.
you wouldn't make
Yeah.
it back. No, and we
If
all
we
play,
need a right fielder, we have a right
Yeah.
fielder.
We
And it
all
could be
play
the
multiple
best guy
positions.
on the team
Yep.
playing right field.
Well, yeah. So maybe if you're, but he in those days he's mellowed quite a bit. But in those days he was really high competitive. So yeah. I mean, but it's not, guys. It's not like that.
Right.
It's not like that. You have your specialists, and I'm a superstar, and all that. No, it's obviously it's just guys who just want to have fun, play ball, and it really did. You guys are hit it right on the head. It really did for me coming out there. It really did have like a little league spirit to it. It was more about just enjoying the game, enjoying being out, socializing, and that's what I said this at the first. I think that it's a picnic with a baseball game in the middle of it.
I like that description.
Yeah.
It's, we've tried to figure out different ways to describe it in so many different ways, and I used to call it like a matchup between a church softball league and MSBL, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the best part, it's the same. The best part of the game is after the game's done and we get our juice boxes.
Yeah. And I still always go back to it, like you mentioned the Yeti film on the long time earlier, when the gentleman's name always escapes me, but he said, the worst thing that can happen is you actually hit the ball and have to run to first.
Boyle.
That is, and it's so true because it's so much fun. You forget, oh man, I might actually have to run, and then that's the part that gets you.
But we always run it out.
That's right,
Yeah.
we always do. Well, you guys got anything you want to plug? You want to mention before we wrap this up?
Follow Tulsa Rumblers on Instagram. Check out our website. It's going to be growing and expanding, so keep checking back on that.
What's the link on that?
That's TulsaRumblers.com.
Okay.
And we got a game this weekend, Saturday, 2:00 versus the White Rock Mudbugs from Dallas, Oak Cliff area.
That's a nice name. I like
so
that.
yeah,
I know
we're
it.
excited to host them and have them in town, and yeah, got a lot
Excellent.
of stuff.
And
a lot
we'll
of
be
good plans.
posting our schedule stuff on the website, but also, like, you can see, we didn't even talk about this, I guess, before we sign off. Josh makes all our posters.
Yes.
And he does this in a very primitive way, and somehow it turns out to look like roses.
Yeah.
So we often post our schedules with our posters, and I see one that's hanging on the wall from last week in the car hole right now.
Dan
Excellent.
McClintock sign.
Yeah, I had to get that signature.
But Josh does some magical things with some very rudimentary tools to make some really, really impressive art. And that's
very
what it
impressive.
is.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, whenever you think about like Andy Warhol and like,
Oh my
he made
gosh.
some crap with, spray
Right.
paint in a cardboard box. Like, if you look at like, and other Sandlot clubs do this too, but Josh has really made it into an art to where even on Sandlot Sundays, you'll have like throwback looking graphics, and it's advertising a Sandlot Sunday. So high praise to Josh Kemp for that. He does a really great job.
very, very, yeah. And again, the way he does it is amazing. The stuff that you turn out is, it's works of art. I could have this whole wall filled with just posters that you've made or someone else. Like I think Juan did that one when we went.
Oh yeah, Juan's done some work for us. Baudry. When
Audrey did our Field of Dreams.
Yeah, when it's
one.
a high stakes situation, Baudry.
Yeah, no.
There's something about
does the
high
one-notes.
resolution versus low resolution.
If it needs to be on
gotcha.
something that's larger than a phone, then
Gotcha.
I get nervous. So
You're not supposed to tell your secret.
Yeah. Are you saying you have to bring in like a ringer or somebody like the
yeah, Baudry would be the graphic design ringer.
No, Baudry's good, but
He's also secretly judging everything you
I
do.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
My font choices. I'm sure it drives them nuts.
So, Justin, you got anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Well, I tell you what, this has just been great, and we have more episodes coming up. Be listening for. It's going to be called Smoke One, and what that's going to be about is one-hit wonders that went to number one. Your first experience, your number one best experience, or your one and done experience. And I'm going to have various questions, and we're going to have the 80s Hot Blonde back on for that. By I've got lots of cards and letters. It's kind of weird. I still get those. You think email or text, but still I get cards and letters. And so that will be coming up. So be listening for that. And we have lots of big things on Smoking Sounds here. And there will be a much more cerebral episode called Peter and His Pipe. And I've been hyping that for a while, but that's going to come out. Going to be all pipe tobacco. So Tulsa Pipe Club, be listening up and join them. Look for them on Facebook, Tulsa Pipe Club. That we love those guys, but that's it. But that's about all I have for right now.
Well, I want to thank both of you gentlemen because you have just fulfilled a podcast dream of mine. I've always said that if I could do one podcast episode, it would be. Sorry, I got that sun blaring right in my eyes, but
Yeah.
it would be to do this just to have two gentlemen that I'm just so grateful to call friends, and I'm thankful for everything you've done, not just for Tulsa Sandlot, but for myself. Like I said, I've had experiences I wouldn't have had without either of you. So I'm very much thankful that you guys took the time out to come and do this with us. And
Absolutely.
this may be one of many. So if you start getting letters and postcards and stuff in the mail like Justin,
for some reason,
that's because we need you back.
That's right.
Jake, first time he blessed us at the Tobacco Pouch, that was our our first 1,000 download episode. So
Yeah, that was really cool.
So Jake's kind of a download magnet.
Yeah.
We know if Jake's
So-
going to be on, and Josh.
We just got a new nickname.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
right.
So-
Definitely thank you guys for coming out. This has been so, and again, my first experience at the Rumblers was just fantastic. And guys, like I was telling them before we were getting started, I said, look, I want to come out, and I can't even see the field. I don't even really know what's going on, but I'm still at the fence going, you call that a strike? All that kind of stuff. And so, so if I can enjoy it and not even really see what the action is, hey,
there it is.
there you go.
Well, consider that umpire role.
Yeah.
So-
We're gonna have Justin be our new umpire.
if you guys hear that buzzing and you're not sure, that's the neon switching on for our cigars and our signs here in the Carho Lounge.
Hey, and Jess just walked in. She was on that trip with us when
That's right.
when the Rumblers
She-
the third location.
The third location, third
She was
third
part
space,
of the,
baby,
of,
third
of,
space.
of the Bucky's experience, as we will.
Oh, no.
So, hey guys, listen, that's a wrap on today's episode. Don't forget to follow us on all social medias at Smoking Sounds Pod. Subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get podcasts, so you never miss a beat
Or a draw.
Until next time, keep those cigars lit and the sounds
Smoking.